after that DJ Vlad, and it started happening then. That day, my head, my sinuses were pounding.
Yeah,
and since then, I've been in and out of, I mean, like, up and down. Not too sick to where you stay home, but not enough to where you feel good you want to do anything.
Yeah, it takes you out of your game, man. It really does. I get it.
All right, so we're back. Episode 2, round 2. You know, I feel like a fighter nowadays. You know, you're in the ring, you're going round and round, you know, swinging, ducking, swinging, you know, with all this stuff going on.
Pang.
Yeah. Anyways, like I was saying, is it the only me? Everybody's sick out here.
Yeah.
With the allergies
are on high alert, extremely. So,
you know, it started with me with that interview with DJ Vlad.
Right.
My head that day was pounding with the sinuses and all that stuff. I had that post-nasal drip, you know. And you don't feel sick enough to stay home, and then you don't feel like enough energy to do anything. So even today, I'm still not myself compared to even then, you know. But anyways, I spoke to some of my sources.
Okay.
And I got some news for you.
Okay.
That Sally Paint Glass. Well, I got confused because we're talking to Uncle Sonny.
That's right.
Yeah, say hi to everybody.
Yeah. How you doing, everyone? Good to see y'all.
Spoke to some of my sources.
Yeah.
And your uncle was made with the Bonanno family, not the Columbos. Now, go through the chronology because he was very close, I was told, and these are reliable sources. I can't give up my sources, but
I get it.
They're in the know. He was very, very close to the Columbos at one point in his life, and that's probably the time you remember. And then, after that, he actually was officially made, I think, in 1977. So that's when the books first opened back up from, everybody back then was waiting for the books to open back up. I guess the last time the books were open in the 50s, I don't know the exact day. I'm not a mob historian. You know, people want to hold you to exact dates and times. I want to know. But, yeah, as soon as the books opened up, he was one of the first guys to go in.
Okay.
So explain the chronology. And I understand you brought the book with you today.
Yes, I did.
And you got some of his original handwriting in it.
Yes.
So I guess we'll just jump into it. We'll delve into that right away.
Yeah. So what I know, and we were talking, what I know is he was very, very close with the Columbos. Joe Columbo was a good personal friend of my Uncle Sal's. And I remember that when I was young. And I'm talking probably 13 at the max. I believe Joe Columbo Sr. was assassinated in 1971. So I'm sure there was some confusion amongst the ranks in the Columbo family. And then my uncle, you know, he didn't come home and announce it to everyone that, you know, because of what was going on at that point, that he needed to probably change families. So keep in mind, when I was a young man, he was very close with Joe Columbo Sr., and he enjoyed Joe a lot. And I remember he was pretty upset right after the assassination, and he voiced his opinion about it. It wasn't very, he was hurt by it. So how he connected with the Bonannos, I don't know exactly, but I know he associated with most of the Bonannos in later years before I came to Arizona. So,
well, jog my memory. Joe Columbo, I mean, I was born in the 60s. You were born
50s.
50s. You remember that when he got shot?
I do. It's 1971, so I'm roughly 14, 15 years old, so I do remember it. And, you know.
It was a big deal.
It was a very big deal because if you think about it, all over Brooklyn, all over New York, they used to have the decals, you know, the Italian-American club with the number 1 in it. With
I remember that, yeah.
That was in every storefront. So Joe Columbo started all that. Now, a lot of people didn't like that, but Joe had very, very good intentions of all the things you saw about him were all positive. I mean, you know, he tried to put a positive turn on what was going on, and he tried to bring all the Italians together, you know, in Columbus Circle on Columbus Day.
Yeah.
He was, in his heart, he was doing a very good thing. And I believe my uncle was quite distraught over that. And that's probably where the transition started for my uncle. But he did start with the Columbos way back when. As I said, he had, you know, the body shop, he had the paint glass, body and paint, and then he had a car lot as well. So he was all over there at 18th Avenue.
If you ask me, I think Joe Columbo was before his time. Because think about it, if it was today and he had that, he would have a platform, you know, like we're able to get on here and have a podcast and do all this great stuff. You know, imagine if he was around today, where he would take the Italian Americans today.
Really? That's a good point.
So I think he was before his time.
Way ahead of his time, yeah. Interesting.
I mean, they probably warned him not to do it because they want to stay in the, you You're not supposed to be doing that, especially if you're active.
If you're active, yeah.
And I guess
They frown on that stuff.
yeah, I guess they shot him. But you said your uncle was there on the stage,
My uncle
right?
was there in the crowd. He was probably 10, 15 feet. I remember him talking about it when he had come home.
10, 15 feet away
from where Joe was assassinated. He was not far from where Joe stood. And I remember him telling us in the family, his personal family, I'll call it. He told us that he was right there when that all happened. So, and I think that might have changed his mind on a few things. Who knows? Like I said, he didn't come home and announce it to anybody that there was going to be a change in his life. He just continued to be who he was.
I mean, you look at the history of the Columbo family, right? They were basically a Brooklyn crew.
Right.
Most of the guys that were made in the Columbos it was pretty much a Brooklyn-based crew. I mean, they were, one of the most violent, I think, if not the most violent family, in my opinion, out of the 5 families.
Probably. I know my uncle was good friends also with Sonny. And, what we called him Uncle Sonny. I hate to say that, so you can call me Uncle Sonny, but, Sonny Francis is who I'm referring to. And what I remember when I was younger, Sonny also came to my parents' house to play cards on Saturday nights. So that's true.
I mean, when you look out throughout history, every family was capable of being violent, every family. But the Columbos, for some reason, the internal wars and throughout history, they were just cowboys,
Yeah, and there were some incidents even in the 90s that they were just all over the streets.
I remember when back when the last war that they had, I was out then. I was hanging a lot out in Bensonhurst and stuff, and I remember that whole thing. I wasn't involved in it, but we knew people on both sides. I knew, people on both sides, and when the split came, and every day somebody was getting whacked, you know, and that was on top of everything else. So all the families were active back then. It was crazy. Late 80s, early 90s, you pick up a newspaper, and somebody was getting trunked, or somebody got shot, somebody's getting whacked, or whatever. It was just nuts.
Yeah, it was like every day we would read something. I lived right off of Bay 7th and Bath Avenue there, and then on 86th Street was the big funeral home. And I remember the FBI cars sitting across the street every time there was a funeral and taking pictures and stuff. It was pretty interesting to see as you're growing up,
I got to say,
yeah.
I want to go over my neighborhood first because there's a lot of rich history there that I think people should know.
Yes.
And it will be interesting. And also, just to get out of the way to lay the foundation, right? But when I crossed that bridge over, the mentality, you get a guy from Manhattan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, take a guy with the Lucchese family. Let's say Prince Street, okay? Because they had a faction down there. The conversation would be, first and foremost, would be about making money. Wise guys, made guys, they were capable, right? Yeah. But they really weren't looking to hurt anybody. They weren't bloodthirsty or nothing, Their first priority was how we're going to make money. That's what it all about, was making money. You go over that bridge to Brooklyn, right? It's all the smell of gunpowder, right? It's all about, how many bodies they judge you by, how many pieces of work you've been on. The first thing, no reason, no nothing, just kill them. It's, a whole different mentality.
Yeah.
It's like the focus was 2 different mentalities. You go out to Brooklyn, and they're talking about, who's getting whacked, who you want to whack next, who we're going to whack next, or who got whacked. All they're talking about is murders. And then it was money.
Money second. That's weird.
Yeah, no, money was second. They didn't care. They didn't care as much about money. They made money. They were capable of making money, but at least the crew I was with, especially on the Gaspipe. Gas was all about, he was a big money maker, and he was a big, it was very important to him to instill that fear into people, and he was, he was into it in a sick way,
I think that in the early days, if you will, it was all about what you earned. You had to become a good earner, and that's how you made your way and made your bones. If you were a good earner, you got some opportunities, and you were asked to help out in other opportunities in other areas. So that's what I remember as being a young man.
Very rarely you get both. Either you get a guy who's an earner,
mm-hmm.
okay, and he's a good earner.
Right.
Then you get a guy who's a good, he's a worker. I mean, he's a workhorse. That's the guy that's doing the work for the family. And what I mean by work is he's doing all the murders for the family, tapping into, he's part of that farming team, Very rarely you get both.
That's interesting.
Think about it. Very rarely you get a guy who's capable that'll go on a piece of work. You call him anytime at a night, and also a good earner.
Can you mention a name to refer to that, or would that be?
Gas was one of them.
Okay.
Gaspipe was one of them. Good earner, and a guy that was very capable.
So he solved both issues. Not everybody was able to do that.
There's not too many guys around. I don't care what they say about the guy.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a lot of criticism, but very few guys that were ever like that guy and that will ever be. Not that they want to be, but there's a lot of things that he was involved in, he did, and he accomplished that you really can't take away from.
Tough shoes to fill. I mean, who wouldn't?
And you got a lot of
shoes.
And you got a lot of other guys too that are on the street today that are a model of him. Because they came from the same school.
Right.
I won't mention their names right now because that's a whole nother episode. But
exactly.
Did we order lunch today? We got lunch on the way, right?
We got lunch. It should be here shortly.
I'm starving.
What do we eat?
Huh?
What do we eat?
There's this joint out here, and I don't know why I'm plugging them in. I mean, because they're not sponsoring us. We didn't ask them to sponsor. It's called Fabio on Fire. And they make fresh panini bread, and they'll put whatever you want in there.
Yep.
So my favorite, I know it's your favorite too because you turned me on to it, was called the Puglia.
Puglia, yeah.
So tell everybody what that is.
Okay, so the Puglia is made on focaccia bread. Focaccia bread is made every few hours, actually, and they have a pizza oven in there, and they make the bread fresh a couple times a day, actually. It's filled with prosciutto, mozzarella, a little bit of arugula, and some sliced tomatoes. And that's about it, really. So it's what I call, when I grew up, I used to go to the delis back in Brooklyn, and I used to get the prosciutto mozzarella sandwich. That's how I called it. So it's thick slices of mozzarella, fresh prosciutto sliced.
Did they make the mozzarella?
And all their stuff over there, which is very interesting, is all imported from Italy. Everything, the flour to make the bread, all the cold cuts that are in the shelf there, it's all imported from Italy. So it's nice, and it's all fresh, too.
You know what part of Italy they're from? North, south?
I don't, off the top of my head. I want to say it's northern Italy.
But he put out a good product. I mean,
Yeah, he has two locations. One is the Panini Shop, which is what we ordered lunch from, and then he has a pizzeria/restaurant type of place. Outside the pizzeria, he's got all fresh basil growing and stuff. It's pretty cool. My grandmother used to call it basinagol. I didn't know it was basil till I got older. My nana used to, Sonny boy, go get the basinagol. I never heard basil when I was a kid growing up. It was basinagol.
So you brought the book with you today, right?
I did, yeah.
You want to dive into it, or?
You tell me.
I want to eat first.
Let's eat.
Mike,
food first, no? Michael?
Yeah,
we're here with
it's here. It's just hanging out.
It's just hanging out.
Antonio, did it get here yet?
It's here. It's,
It is
I
here.
got a note right here.
Okay.
Okay.
It showed up, and they put it right next to the door here.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, beautiful. And we'll sit, we'll eat.
We'll eat.
And then I hope you have the Manhattan specials.
Oh, yeah.
There's three in the refrigerator I already spied.
There's three.
There's three in the refrigerator.
Every time, when I first...
Here's what's crazy. Like, Uncle Sonny showed up. When he showed up, I think he was here a minute before you were. He showed up with armfuls of stuff that we don't even know what he brought yet. It was like...
Did he say Maron when he came into the door?
All he said was, bro, I got the stuff.
I got the stuff.
Nice.
Italian cookies, pastries. We got the sfriadelle.
So we're going to take everybody to like what a normal day for us is, having lunch. When we get together, we talked about when we get together with a couple of guys.
Yeah.
And this is what we do, have a nice meal, get maybe some coffee, some pastries, right? And it's a good day.
It's a great day.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Well, where are these sandwiches?
I'll go get them.
So anyways, at the allergies out here, I mean, it's just, I don't know when the weather, they're saying by Monday it's going to get back to normal.
Like you said, one day it's 85, 90 degrees. The next day it's 65. That's a big difference.
Back to what I was saying, when I first got out here, right?
Yeah.
My accent was so bad. My threes were trees.
Trees.
And the more I talk to you,
it comes back.
It gets worse. I almost said tree again.
Yeah. Well,
I said tree sandwiches.
I work hard at
Manhattan
still doing this Brooklyn accent I got over here. But you know, when you think about it, when you hang around somebody from the old neighborhood or somebody that you from the same cloth,
it's the best.
It's coming back. So by the end of the podcast, who knows what we're going to sound like?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be all over the page. What do they say at this point? Model.
Well,
yeah.
You know, I don't think they labeled anything here.
Sunny first.
I think it's all the same.
Other than
didn't we all get Puglia?
The same thing.
Yeah, made it simple.
Bless, huh?
Just three of
the same thing, right?
3 Puglias.
All right.
So how do we show? Can we show everybody what it looks like?
Yeah, pick it up.
Little cross section right there.
See, look at that.
Look at that bread, huh? Fresh.
Oh, it smells so good.
Nice. Thinly sliced prosciutto, some arugula with extra virgin, fresh mozzarella. What else is on there? Tomatoes. Man.
God bless.
Never disappoints, huh? Mm-hmm. So if everybody don't mind, we're going to take a bite of this.
We're going to eat on camera.
Are we going to rate it? We're not going to rate it, right?
Nah.
Gene Tone, you got my napkins?
Yeah. We'll have to get some.
That's what they forgot.
Man.
They didn't put any in there.
No.
Delish, huh?
I can eat like this all day, every day. It's all nice, flavorful.
Yeah. This shit you could never go wrong because when you got fresh bread. Thank you, buddy. I hate to bother you, but where's those Manhattan specials?
Fridge.
The fridge?
Fridge.
We got to grab those.
I'm going to grab them.
Antonio, how's your sandwich? Good?
That's really good. You know what I like about this is the bread, the dough.
Yeah, it makes the whole thing, because see, look at that. I'm going to put it up to the camera again.
Yeah.
When you got bread,
fresh ingredients and all that.
When you got bread that's baked like that, thank you, buddy. The famous Manhattan special. Man, I got more stories with this growing up as a kid, right? Everybody had it. Salud.
So if they were a sponsor,
Salud, buddy.
We'd be able to put the whole thing up there. Right?
Man, never
That's
disappoints.
a hint, guys.
That's a hint. I get it.
Never disappoints.
Never. The only thing that's changed is the bottle.
You're
these
right.
years.
It used to be like more of a shorter bottle, right?
Yeah, it was a stumpier little guy.
It wasn't a long neck like this.
No, I actually think this has more ounces than the original bottle, too.
You know something? Back then, nobody was health conscious, right? At all.
Oh, this is.
You always wondered.
2 pounds of sugar in it, Frank?
You always wonder how much sugar's in this thing, right? What does it say? I got my glasses on.
Does it still say made in Brooklyn?
37 grams of sugar.
That's it? What is that? 45 teaspoons or some crap? So, yeah, we'll have a check for diabetes after this.
There was nothing like it. Playing all day in the street, going over to the soda machine. I think they were 25 cents back then. Ice cold.
Chewing on a microphone here. It's lovely.
Everyone's quiet all of a sudden. This is what happens with food and drink with Italians.
Food's good.
If the food is good, nobody says anything.
Talking about quiet. Don't you see? I'm going to leave this guy's name mentionless because I don't want to hurt his feelings.
I understand.
He's a good friend of us. He's the noisiest eater. You ever seen what people? You know who I'm talking about, right? I don't even got to say his name.
I don't want to.
But one day, what I'll do is we'll have lunch with them, and they'll be able to figure it out. This guy chops it up. Like, what are you doing? And then we'll start having a conversation with you with his mouth full. So now what you're doing is you're covering your food because you might spit something on it, right? Or now, or you're going, it's like what do you call? So when I eat with him, if I'm facing like this, if I'm facing one-on-one, what I'll always do is we get a four-seater. We get a four. What is it?
It's the bottles.
All right, guys. So we'll make that a little less blurry if you're a sponsor. Just throwing that out there.
Having fun, kids. Just having fun.
So what I'll do is I'll always sit across, not directly. Let's say we walk into a joint, right? We'll automatically get a four top because he's a big guy. I'm a big guy, right? I won't sit directly towards him. I'll sit diagonal on purpose because I'm thinking I got to stay clear of the shot he might throw with the, So you can't wait till
you don't got to hit with any spray.
Why don't you pace yourself? I tell him, just pace yourself. So what I'll do is when I eat, I'm conscious of that. I'll cover my mouth like this here. But man, he sucks it up like he's eating soup, and then he's chopping away like he's clapping his hands.
Now I'm going to be conscious of every bite.
You know what I'm saying? Don't that annoy you?
Oh, 100%.
But how do you enjoy food if you're doing that?
I eat slow. Some people say I eat too slow, but I kind of enjoy eating slow. I'm talking about my mouth full.
Yeah, I know guys who eat so fast. When you see them, you're just like, how did you eat that fast? Like, did you even taste it?
There's food you can't eat fast.
I enjoy food.
Exactly what I was saying is that, and then they're in a rush. So even when I was in the can, even the last bid, you got maybe 10 minutes. And it's 1,500 inmates when I was in Texas, right? And you're going in and out. So if a guy knows you're behind the line, he'll give you more food. There's no way, if you don't eat at a pace, you're not finishing everything. In other words, the serving size they give you, you can finish it in 10 minutes. But you can't have a conversation. You have nothing else. You got to put your head down and just scoff away. Wow. Unless you're going to...
Why 10 minutes? Why do they do that?
Because there was so many inmates
behind it?
Yeah, they got to get it done. Like, they got to have each unit come out at a certain time.
And to feed them 1,500 people at one clip, I guess there has to be a system.
Right. There's an exact system. And what they do is they'll let each unit out at a certain time. And now that unit, they're kicking them out so the next unit could come. Right? So you sit down unless you're going to sneak the food back, which, it's a long walk from the mess hall to your unit. And they got cops there shaking you down, patting you down to find the banana. What a miserable job, huh?
No kidding.
Honey, what'd you do today? Oh, I found 3 bananas and 2
orange.
apples and right?
Scary.
One time I had a banana, I was taking it back, and just to make fun of it, and he actually let me go. I got the banana, had it in my hand, and when he went to go pat me, I just had it in my hand, I just held it up like this in the air.
And he just let you walk by.
Yeah, let me go, because he found it so funny, He let me go. But, that's like an everyday thing, Guys who did time before, they'll tell you, don't know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
But man, this prosciutto too. Where's he get it from?
It's come from Italy.
Straight from Italy.
You see it in the counter there.
I think we might need a waiter or a waitress. We just literally need a waiter or a waitress. So we've got a bunch of stuff in the refrigerator over there that Uncle Sonny brought. Now we've got these sandwiches and all these drinks and all this stuff. I mean, I feel like we need somebody to serve us.
I'll work on that.
You know what it is? We got Giantonio built a bunker over here. It's a very... eventually when we get guests on here, I can't have any... I would love to have certain guests I would invite, but, they're felons. And I can't be around any felons for the next 18 months because I'm on federal supervised release. That's one of the conditions of your parole. You can't mingle with, felons, When we do invite somebody here, it's a process to get to this place, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I'm not knocking it, but he built a nice fortress. So when you come in here, it's a very impressive place, Man, I tell you, it's so light. When the bread is this light,
you can eat forever.
You digest it. You don't even feel full after that.
No.
That's really good.
That's right.
Good choice. I think we need to have like a food cam. So it's like just focuses maybe above the table, shooting straight down, a real close up on the food.
So what's funny is every time I come out here, they ask me, where you going? I go, I'm going to the west side. Because in Arizona, we're on the west side of Arizona, right?
Yeah, west side of Phoenix side.
Back in the neighborhood, the west side, everybody knew what that meant. Meant the East Village, the West Village. And then it became known throughout all the boroughs in New York, the west side, What a great neighborhood, too. Italian neighborhood. We'll get into that. A lot of great restaurants and pizzerias. They're still there. Still famous pizzerias. That John's Pizza.
Yeah.
You heard of it?
John's is there. Growing up where I grew up, it was a big treat to go over to L&B, Spumoni Gardens. Big treat. We used to love going there.
What's the name?
L&B, Spumoni Gardens. Which, in the original, Grimaldi's was right under the Brooklyn Bridge. And they used to make the coal-fired pizza. And then there was the little place over in Coney Island. Was it Totino's? Had the coal-fired oven. The old man was in there. He used to throw the mozzarella on the pizza. I think they made one size pizza. That was it. Take it or leave it. But it was good. It was come right out of the oven. There was nothing like that. There's good places out here, but when you mention New York, you think of that. You think of some great food, pizzerias, delis. We grew up, the bakeries. I remember going up to the corner. There was the candy store. There was the fruit store, we used to call it. There was the butcher. There was the bakery. Everything was separate. Now, there was a Bohax or an A&P down the street. I forget which one it was. But all the old, mom and pop stores, that's what New York was famous for. And everything, one was better than the other. You never were disappointed when you went to the bakery or you went to the deli or wherever you went to. In our neighborhood, where I grew up, walking back to school, you had to stop. There was a fish store, and they had the best French fries you ever had in your life. So I had to get the French fries.
I heard of that place. What was the name of it?
I can't think of the name for the life of me, but it was up on Fort Hamilton Parkway. It wasn't far away from where I went to grammar school. I doubt it. I don't know. The pizzeria I used to stop in, it was called Maria's Pizzeria on Fort Hamilton Parkway. That's still there, of what I hear. Some of my friends I talked to back east in New York and New Jersey area, they say it's still there. So that was amazing. I graduated from that school in the late 60s, but I remember doing that. It was either French fries, pizza. There was always big sandwiches out of there. Big Italian heroes, we used to call them. So, yeah, I miss those days of being in New York and some of the food. But out here, I think it's growing amazingly, and there's a lot of great chefs. As we talked about once before, we got some celebrity chefs out here that are kind of friends of ours, and, we'll be able to visit with them and take care of them. But, food is food, man. I love my food.
This bread reminds me of, every time I get good bread, reminds me of the neighborhood back when I was a kid. The bakery's still there. Parisi Bakery. Ever heard of them?
It's famous. The name is famous.
So let me tell you about that.
What street was that on again? Refresh us.
The actual bakery was on, I think it was on Elizabeth, between Houston. It was on the west side. It was on the west side of Houston. So Houston Street was like a four-way street. So once you hit no, hang on a second. I know it was off a house in the actual bakery. Not exactly the cross street. I know it was off Houston. But the retail bakery where they sold all the bread and they made sandwiches out of there was on Mott Street between Spring and Kenmare.
I kind of remember that.
So the place is still there. I checked. So they started back in the late 1800s. The original woman that started it, Maggie Parisi. I might have that wrong. But my uncle that married into my family, it's kind of, I don't want to confuse you, but, back then, the Italian families were a lot bigger back then, So my grandmother, my father's mother, had 1, 2, 3 sisters, okay? One of the sisters was Mary. She married James Parisi, which is the son of Maggie Parisi. Okay. And we used to call him Uncle Jamesy. It wasn't James, Uncle Jamesy.
Uncle Jamesy.
And this guy was, you talk about it, just a good, solid, like a good soul, give you the shirt off his back, just a good guy. And what I heard was, back in the day, before they had any kind of machines or whatever, he used to knead and make all the dough and the loaves by hand.
Yeah.
That was like the original way, Anyway, I don't know what happened after that, but I heard he was a really tough guy. Like, he was a bare-knuckle boxer. Then it went on to where you had gloves and then, you go all these rounds, like more than 15 rounds, whatever. But he was a tough guy. Like, he was a boxer. He was a scrapper, So he moved his family out with my Aunt Mary out to Jersey. So I remember as a kid, we always go to see Aunt Mary and Uncle Jamesy. Yeah. And I remember they used to have this basement that was kind of connected to like an outdoor patio with a pool and everything. We're always excited to go there because to see your family and my cousins, who unfortunately I don't talk to. I don't talk to any of my cousins, not because I don't want to. I don't. It's a tough thing. After
life takes over sometimes.
Yeah, life takes over, and then after what happened with my family, you don't want to put anybody in a position. If they want to talk to you, you're here.
If they want to find you,
if they're listening today, I still love them. And even though if they don't want to talk to me, I'm okay with that. I know, if they ever seen me, they probably talk to me or whatever. But I'm not going to put anybody in a position. But you could love people without them loving you back, right?
100%.
So I got nothing but love for the Parisis. Yeah. Parisis are, in my book, Uncle Jamesy, we used to go out there and we used to see all my cousins who were similar to my age, maybe a year or two younger, older. And it was two different worlds growing up in Jersey versus New York City. Because they were out there, they were athletes. They grew up playing football and, these kids
different lifestyle. It wasn't the city lifestyle.
Right.
It was a little more countrified, if you will.
Yeah, like a big deal to them was fireworks, I was selling fireworks on the street, on the corner, But fireworks out there was like a, big deal, right? So it's just a different upbringing, which they played a lot of sports. These kids, you go out there, they were just bigger. They were just more like healthier,
Yep.
Because they were, I guess the fresher air out there in Jersey, without the trucks and the smog and everything.
Yeah.
But anyways, he raised a great family, right? He went on to be the president and the founder of local, I might have this wrong. I think it's local 376.
Okay.
So it was under the DC 37 local, which was the largest local in the country for laborers. So he went on to become the president of that.
Wow.
Yeah, so he accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
And with that, his son in particular, Joe Parisi,
okay,
right, who I think about from time to time, was the international delegate for the DC 37.
Wow.
So Cousin Joe used to travel all over the country. He was in every state. He worked his butt off.
Yeah.
And I remember one time when I had a lot of heat on me, a lot of surveillance. And the smartest thing to do was to take off. My old man, everybody around me was like, look, you got to go. Mm-hmm. wait till it dies down, and then, come back. So I figured out where to go on the lam. Cousin Joe, nobody would ever figure I'd be with Joe. Yeah. He's a legit international guy, union guy, and he's traveled from state to state. Let's call Joe up, right? Call Cousin Joe up. I got to laugh because Joe grew up in the neighborhood with my old man.
Yep.
He was a tough guy, tough kid, just a personality. He walked in a room and he made everybody laugh. He was like one of those guys, Everybody loved him. So I was like, where's Joe at? He's in Des Moines, Iowa at the time. Now, mind you, this is back in like late 80s. So Des Moines is not, I've been to Des Moines multiple times recently because I was going to build a country bar out there, Rascal Flats and Toby Keith and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's grown a lot. Des Moines now it's a decent city. Yeah. But back then, you want to talk about the boonies. I'm like, I don't know how the hell. So I heard Des Moines, Iowa. Then I'm coming out of the city. Mm-hmm. It's maybe 89, maybe 1990. I forget
the exact year. Culture shock.
Talk about a culture shock, right?
Yeah.
But he made me feel so at home, right? Opened his doors.
Wow.
He didn't care, your family, right? Every Sunday, he would cook, just like my grandmother. My grandmother, who my Aunt Mary's mother, my grandmother Carrie, we used to call her Grandma Mean Toy because our dog, one of these Chinese, what's the Chinese dog, Tony? Not the
hairless thing?
Not the hairless. No, they weren't around then. It was a dog. She used to put a rubber band. She used to get a rubber band and pull its hair.
Shih Tzu or Lhasa Apso. I had one of those. I had each one, actually.
Did you put a rubber band on the
Shih Tzu and the Lhasa? She had long hair.
She had to put a rubber band so that she could see, right?
Yeah, of course. And they had the little eyes that bugged out a little bit.
So I guess the dog's name was Ming Toy.
Ming Toy.
Like mink, yeah.
Mink,
right?
Yeah.
Right, so.
I get it.
Is it the Pekingese, the little guy? Is that the one you're talking about?
It was it was a black, I remember it was a black dog.
Was it big or small?
Small, like maybe 10 inches tall. Big bulgy eyes.
Yeah. Probably a Shih Tzu or a Pekingese would be
probably got a Pekingese.
That's the ones that come to mind. Shih Tzu's a little,
So as kids, we call her, Grandma Ming Toy because remember the dog.
Grandma Ming Toy.
Grandma Ming Toy.
I love it.
So, and my grandmother, she lived on Kenmare off of Mott, right around the corner from the bakery, Parisi, the retail store.
Yeah,
And all she did was play numbers every day. She would sit outside, out a window. There's a traffic cop in the middle of the street directing traffic, and the number guy is right behind him with his hand signals telling her what came out that day. Imagine that.
Yeah.
So.
Did it look like that?
Exactly.
That's it.
That's exactly the dog.
They even got the rubber band at its head.
That's the Shih Tzu.
Yeah, that's exactly how she did.
I had one of those.
That's, Ming Toy.
Ming Toy. Look at little Ming Toy. That's funny.
But he was jet black, Ming Toy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
My grandpa Armand, her husband, Armand Antonaccio, I got old pictures of him from Italy, right? He will cook up a storm. They will cook up a storm every Sunday as if 20 people were coming over. So whoever came by, there was always a dish. There was always a dish of pasta. There was always something there for you to eat. And if nobody showed up, whatever way he would stretch it, he would always make it into something else and it would last throughout, a couple, 2-3 days. But back then, those apartments, the bathroom, the bathtub was in the dining room.
What do you mean?
You walk up the building, right?
Okay.
I remember going down this long hallway.
Okay.
And I guess the way those tenement apartments were, you walk into the dining room, I remember. You'd have a big round table in the kitchen.
Okay.
But then there was a countertop that was over the your bathtub.
Wow.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So when they weren't using it, it would be a countertop for something. But I guess
like food out on it and all that
condiments.
Stuff. Yeah.
They didn't have that many condiments. I remember you couldn't get any ketchup there, or the old timers, you couldn't get condiments. They didn't believe in.
You were lucky to get salt and pepper.
Right, everything was just simple. Yeah. So the way those apartments were, even the bathroom, I remember, was one of those old-fashioned toilets. Like the one in The Godfather.
With the chain?
Yeah, with the chain. Clemenza says, I'm going to put
it. Yeah, I remember.
Exactly like that. With the chain.
That's old New York right
Ice
there.
cold. Every time you sat on that toilet, forget it. Ice cold toilet. You pulled the chain down,
Scary.
So he was famous. That's the dog.
It's a Shih Tzu.
It's a Shih Tzu.
That's Ming Toy.
Yeah.
That's Ming Toy. That's him exactly, right?
Exactly.
He was black, right?
Yeah.
You said he was black.
Him.
That's him, yeah.
Yeah.
I had one of those little guys.
Grandma Ming Toy.
Ming Toy. Grandma Ming Toy.
Grandpa Armand, till today, I got to have my mother make him. His rice balls.
Oh.
He'd make them every week. I don't know how he did it or, because there's always that TLC going into it.
Yeah.
The right size. Everything was by hand.
What type did he make? You make them with the cheese. Now, some people put rice and meat inside. Some people just make a rice ball.
He didn't do that. He just did a rice ball.
Just a rice ball.
Mozzarella.
Yep.
Nice chunk of mozzarella in the middle.
Mm.
Always, man, I don't know. Till today, we still can't get them well, we remember it. My mother has the recipe. It's written down.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we do it, it never disappoints, right? But still
it's not what
like
you
his.
remember.
Nah, still not like his.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and I love rice balls. Out here when you go to a restaurant, you order an order of we'll call it arancini. That's what they call it on the menus, arancini. I never heard that until I went to restaurants. We call them rice balls. It was Sicilian rice balls. I believe they had the peas and meat in them. They were bigger. And then there was rice balls, which my grandmother made, which were the smaller one, like you're saying, Grandpa made with the mozzarella. That's what I remember a rice ball. Here, there's different variations, but the tradition works best.
He smoked a lot of cigars in his time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they put a hole in his throat where he used to have a hanky that was over his throat.
Yeah.
So when he talked, you couldn't understand him too good, but we made do.
Yeah, because he really was speaking from here.
But every time I remember as a kid going up there, you never left hungry. The first thing they do is feed you. They're going to take care of you. Every week you make a batch of rice balls. Then when I got older and I started going up there on my own, without my mother and father, I would just go for the rice balls.
One thing about an Italian household, especially back then, don't come full. You better be hungry and you better eat. Otherwise, it's a major insult. Somebody puts food in front of you in an Italian family, eat it all, and ask for seconds.
And don't say nothing.
Just keep eating. And can I have some more? Absolutely.
And if you put seconds on the dish, they put seconds on your dish, and you don't eat it, you get the speech. Kids are starving in Ethiopia.
You're so right.
Some third world country.
I remember that.
They guilt you right away.
Yep.
And then if you still don't eat it, then you get hit with the gravy spoon. The big wooden spoon? Yeah, the big wooden spoon. But back to my cousin Joe. I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. He made me feel so at home because he took the neighborhood with him, So every Sunday we'd make a sauce. But he was the life of the party wherever we went. We walk into a place where stick out like a sore thumb. Some steakhouse that's like a cattle ranch where everybody's got cowboy hats on. We don't belong, Yeah. We walk in. Joe, how are you? Joe.
He knows everybody.
The whole place will light up.
Wow.
Walking into like a Chili's. Like Chili's out there was like a big deal. You ever see those towns where like the chain restaurants, it's like the spot?
Yeah.
Come on, let's go to Chili's. Chili's, I've never been there in my life. Walk in there, Applebee's.
Yep.
Never been there in my life, right? Walk in, the whole bar yelling, Joe, how are you? It was hilarious.
Just a popular guy, right?
Wherever you went, this guy was popular. Big heart. I miss him. You talk about some of the people I really miss when he passed away. I cried like a baby.
Wow. How long has he been gone?
Man, Joe's been dead probably, I don't know if I was in the can when he passed away. I think I had just gone out. Okay. He's got to be dead probably about 20 years.
Wow. But the memories are still alive.
Oh, yeah, no. The laughing I did with him. He had no shame at all. So I'll give you a story real quick.
Okay.
We're in a grocery store. Who goes shopping in a grocery store for underwear? I never met anybody that goes to a grocery store shopping for underwear. That's
not
how nuts
first
he
on
was.
my mind for underwear. No.
So
definitely not.
But they got a section out there. This is in Iowa. They got a section out there where, you know, you could buy socks, you could buy underwear, you could buy like some clothes. So I'm in line and I'm buying food like to take back to the house. He's behind me. I remember the cash register lady, the girl. She was very attractive.
Uh-huh.
And there's people. I mean, you know, there's people around. Everybody's there. And he throws a 3-pack of Fruit of the Loom or whatever it was, black underwear.
Okay.
So me, like, you know, I set myself right up for it. I turn to my left. I go, why? Because I always wore white underwear. You know,
Right,
you always
you
wore food, you know, white briefs, right?
Tidy whities, baby.
He says, oh, you can't, he said, I like the black so you can't see the shit stains.
Oh, my God. Model. Did he
whole-
say that to you in the whole place?
No, he didn't say it to me. He said it out loud.
Oh,
I don't know if I can say that word on here. You know, that's not
We
a curse
just
word,
did.
is it?
We just beep it.
So I go like this. I said, I can't, nothing he ever said or did ceased to amaze me. Now I'm embarrassed because the girl's attractive. I'm getting ready to like ask her for a number or something.
not anymore.
No, what happened was she loved it.
Oh,
The
wow.
laughing that everybody did because it was, you know, there was no internet back then. There was no nothing. So we were like aliens. So to come out there with an accent from New York,
Yeah.
it was different. So all the girls loved us because we were something different. You know, the guys hated us because we're taking their girls, right? So this girl here, she was very attractive. He breaks the ice with the underwear joke. I'm embarrassed. So I'm sitting there, I'm going, she says, oh, you're buying all this food and everything. You guys going to cook? Yeah, we're going to cook. And I said, well, why don't you come by? I said, we're going to cook. Oh, I would love to. So we made a Sunday dinner and stuff like that. And she loved it, right? Anyway, we started dating. And this girl was, I mean, I don't want to say she was the one that got away, but if I was ready to retire or like I wasn't never coming back, I would have still been with this girl.
Really?
Yeah, in
That's
Des Moines,
pretty
Iowa.
strong to say 20 years later.
Because there was nothing, no reason why not.
Yeah. Right
She
place,
was
right time, right girl.
She was a blonde bombshell.
Wow.
Beautiful girl.
And was born there in that region, in that area?
Born and raised. Nice family. Nothing, it all made sense, you know? But I knew I was only going to be there temporarily.
Yeah.
So, you know, at that age, you're bouncing around from girl to girl. You know, you're not looking for a relationship.
Right. You don't turn it into anything at that point. You just take it for what it is.
So now we're there. And so he moved. We moved to Nebraska, next state over, because he took another position.
Okay.
We're in Omaha, Nebraska. So same thing. We get an apartment. We set the whole thing up. And again, he's getting in the groove. Every place he would walk in, they know him by name. The guy was, I can't say enough good things about him.
Charisma just shines through in that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
So anyway, when the heat was off, they said, you're good to go to come back. Well, not knowing any better, I had the life out there with him.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Right?
Sounds it.
But, you know, you want to be a gangster. You want to be cool. You miss New York and all this other stupid stuff. Couldn't wait to get back.
You found enough reasons to go home.
I get back to New York, and we'll get into that after the Vlad thing and stuff. But
Yeah.
anyway, I had a time where I had to go back on the lam again.
Okay.
This time he was in, it was almost like the show, Where's Joe? Where's Cousin
Part
Joe?
of the map is Cousin Joe.
Yeah. Oh, what was that show I used to see on I forget what it said. Where was so, it's like a meme, right? Where in the world is so-and-so? So anyway, this time we found out he was in Columbus, Ohio,
Okay.
which even then was a little bit of a hopping city.
Yeah.
Even more today. And I wind up there with him, you know? And the same thing. He had walked into all the places. Everybody knew. And the guy was just, I can't.
He's that
and
guy.
He did it, and Sonny, he did it all on his own. Like he didn't.
Just naturally. Just
he
being himself.
No, yeah, the guy lived on his own. He didn't want or need from anybody. He was just a good.
That's strong.
Yeah.
Strong individual. what that is. Hard to pick up and move like that, man. When I moved out here to Arizona, it was a hard move, but it was a good move. And it's funny you bring up the whole accent thing. And I remember I'd first gotten in the car business, and I used to go to like the local Taco Bell down the street, right there on Bell Road, and I used to order, and I'd pull up to the window to pay, and there's these 3 girls staring at you, and they're giggling, and they're going, "We love the way you talk. Can you say something?" They were amused by that accent, and, we're joking about it here today on how thick our accents come off, especially by the end of the show. But it's just natural, and people just were, like you're saying, they're attracted to that accent. It meant something. I don't think it does anymore, but they were like, "Where are you from?" And I'd say, "Brooklyn, New York." And they were like, "Man, you got to say something. Please talk."
All right, so we don't have to go through the whole speech again about subscribe, like, and
they know what to do.
Push buttons. Oh, they know what to do.
By now, everybody knows what to do. Like, subscribe.
I'll see you when I see you.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.